You're listening to the Get Out of Your Own Damn Way podcast, episode number 91.
Are you a good girl? Well, stop it. Today, we are going to deconstruct the good girl.
Welcome to the Get Out of Your Own Damn Way podcast. I'm your host, Krylyn Peters. Each week, I bring you inspiring messages to help you create the life you're meant to lead. Buckle up, buttercups.
Welcome to the show. Today, we are talking about putting the good girl on blast. Oh my goodness. I love this topic. I have talked so much about the good girl syndrome over the last few years, and I love talking about this topic because it is near and dear to my heart. Because, yes, folks, I am a recovering good girl. There, I've said it. Hello, Krylyn. Exactly. So, are you with me? Do you know what I'm talking about? What the frick is a good girl? Well, oh my gosh. So the good girl is the girl who was taught to keep her mouth shut, to be seen and not heard, to not rock the boat, to do what she's told, to do what's expected of her, to protect the family secrets. And holy crap, I am so done with that. I grew up in a family where we swept so much crap under the rug that I, somewhere along the line, made a vow that when I grew up, my job was going to be to peel back the damn carpet. So here we are, and here is most of the work that I do is all about uncovering that which people do not want to talk about. But you know what? I know that you're ready to talk about it and you're ready to hear about it because you are here listening today. So how is this whole situation of the good girl going to be deconstructed? Well, I want you to know, first of all, that the good girl is not a bad girl. And this is such an interesting topic because typically what we think is that if we're not wanting to be the good girl, then what? Then is it the opposite of that? Does that mean now I'm a bad girl? Well, no, not at all. We can have two things existing simultaneously, but we also need to look at what the definition is, right? So what is the good girl and how does she serve us? Those are some of the questions that I like to ask because the good girl is not necessarily a bad thing. However, she serves a purpose, and if that purpose is no longer relevant, then we don't need her anymore. So why in the heck would the good girl be relevant? You might be asking yourself. So as a recovering good girl, I know that my good girl persona when I was growing up protected me. And I was able to survive because I was doing what I needed to do. I was doing what was expected of me because I saw the consequences of not doing that. And holy crap, I didn't want those consequences bestowed upon me. So in order to survive, I was compliant. And I look back on that and I can say I'm really grateful that my good girl saved me from being hit and from being ridiculed and from being belittled as much as other people in my household were. So, yes, thank you, good girl. And that's the other thing is let's give her some props because she did help us at some point. She helped us survive whatever it was that we survived. So let's thank her and say, oh my gosh, good girl, thank you for letting me survive this chaos. But does that mean that we're now a bad girl? Well, we could be. If you look at it that way, if you're in black and white thinking, then you're either a good girl or a bad girl. But what about the girl who sticks up for herself? What about the girl who is in charge and who goes after her dreams and who elicits support and who is able to think for herself. I mean, those are some really great qualities. The problem I see is sometimes society labels us as problematic or bitchy or aggressive when we change from the good girl. When we are acting a certain way, when we're in that good girl role, other people know how to deal with us. They know what to expect because they know we're not going to rock the boat. So when we start to shift and change, then it can be a problem. But it's maybe not our problem, it's other people's problem, right? So if other people have a problem with us changing, do we have to take responsibility for that? Well, frick no, we don't. That's on them. But I will tell you, when you change, when you shift from good girl to busting out of the good girl syndrome, people will react. People want you to be the way you've always been. It's the status quo. People don't like change. They get uncomfortable. And it may not be a totally conscious thing, but when you start to change, you'll notice that people around you can get uncomfortable because a couple reasons why that is. One is you're acting different. So then they start to question, like, who am I in all of this? Because I knew who you were and I knew who I was. I knew what my role was in this. If you're changing, then that must mean that my role is changing, and I don't want to change because change is uncomfortable. And the other thing it does when we start to change is it reminds people that they may not be where they want to be. That in order to have the life and the success that they want, they have got to make some changes. And they might not be where they are, and that can have a whole lot of feelings involved with it. There can be some shame or guilt or frustration or anger, and people don't like those feelings. They're uncomfortable. So it serves to remind people of that discomfort, and that's not always fun. So how do you get through all of that? Oh my goodness. Well, you've got to focus on yourself. You've got to make yourself a priority. And like I said, this is what I love to teach people. In fact, this is the main topic for my training this month in my membership site, where I give 5 tips to ditch that good girl, right? And we go really deep into how to get rid of all of the things that we have in our head of how we should be. But I want you to make sure that you understand that the good girl is not a bad girl, right? That the good girl has served you, and that when you start to change and get out of that good girl role, that other people will be affected. So the trick is to really understand that this is about you and you doing what is best for you, because you can still be a good girl, but you can do it your own way.
Thanks for listening to the Get Out of Your Own Damn Way podcast. If you've been inspired, please share the podcast with your friends. You can find us on iTunes or at Krylyn.com. Krylyn.com.
Off the cuff, baby.